what has happened so far in the Middle East with the war between the United States and Iran, I don't consider Israel to be part of it because
No,
they never been,
it's
because they're not fighting the war. Andre, I think the decision to go to war against Iran was a military decision. The people who had some sort of, I'm talking about Pete Hegseth and people like him, they thought that they can defeat Iran militarily. And the decision right now to go after ceasefire or somehow negotiate with it, it's because of the reality of the battlefield. We had some sort of raid recently happening last 4 days has
mhm.
happened in Iran. Then we had the briefing on Donald Trump. What is your understanding? What has happened on the battlefield that brought them to the negotiations or somehow ceasefire?
um, I just read the news that I have this sticker, it comes with this stupid Windows, Windows 10 and Windows 11 also. It pops up this MSN thing, and I read it, and yeah, there's whatever it was, MSN news or something like that. That there are critics in Pentagon now, critics of Mr. Hegseth. And then, of course, there is a new scandal is developing that also Pentagon essentially they say he threatened Pope, who is the first American Pope, by the way. So, we have to understand who Hegseth is. He has no military education. ROTC is not real military education. He never graduated beyond the mentality and level of knowledge of maximum platoon commander, maybe. I don't know. And even that is just his old tattooed guy who he was an anchor. He studied politics, for crying out loud. I don't even know what it means studying politics in university. So you have this guy who had been in Afghanistan. He saw somebody shot from the distance, the 545 or 556 caliber bullet at him, and maybe somebody launched RPG, whatever. So he comes in and he thinks that he can understand and grasp the complexity of the real war. When they shoot at you, not with small arms, but when you have like all kinds of ranges between 100 to 1,000 pounds of the high explosives flying at you with, pretty consistently every day. What do you think is going to happen to people? They will die. They will be shell shocked. They will be absolutely demoralized. And that's not the war Pentagon knows. They have no clue about it. There is not a single American officer who understands what it is, because except for those guys who went there into the special military operation undercover and pretended that they are, we're volunteers. Many of them dead. Actually, Russians identify now, even at the Arlington Cemetery, all those volunteers, American so-called volunteers who are essentially cadre officers and NCOs who have been killed by Russians in a special military operation. They get into the same thing, but now you do not have the cannon fodder like Ukrainians to hide behind them. You have to go out and perform. And you're performing against the something which is not Iraq. Iraq is just, militarily it's pathetic compared to present Iranian capabilities. And as a result, you have now, there is a disarray in Pentagon. Again, if I was absolutely stunned reading that somebody actually threatened Pope. All the Pentagon says, oh, no, it's not really what happened. We still welcome him. But Vatican essentially canceled the visit of Pope to Pentagon. So, and we have now somebody in Pentagon criticizing and actually, calling on Hegseth to be removed. Yeah, what did you expect? You have essentially the guy who have no real military background. The fact that he went to Afghanistan. Well, many people went to Afghanistan, okay? We saw those American generals in Afghanistan. They lost it, just basically from the onset because they are not good. And so this is the secretary of the war. And I understand it's a more political position. The problem is because of this thing about him, they always sell this, I'm veteran of Afghanistan or I'm veteran of Iraq, and they are veterans. They are people who went there and experienced those nasty things which any kind of war or high intensity police operation can impose on you. but he has no absolute background in operational strategic level. He wouldn't understand this. He knows one-liners, he rubs shoulders with some generals, but what you see now, and especially when you see now that essentially even New York Times and Washington Post believe to prepare the move to blame everything on Hexet, obviously, that he is being thrown under the bus. What do you expect from Trump, who himself is a coward and political animal which behaves itself now like the spoiled, the middle school, girl, and calling names, and we look at this, and it's just, I cannot wrap my brains around. This is the supposedly superpower. It's a third world. I mean, on the worst of the third world. There are some, third world countries somewhere whose political elites behave with more honor, integrity, and and as a result, it's all because what Iran basically hammered the final nail into the coffin of the American empire in the West in general, and they have to live with this. And yes, frankly, United States was paraded as the militarily paper tiger, and we're not talking about even Israel. Well, Israel drives it all. Israel owns Trump, it owns Congress, and so United States is in a catch-22. It's conundrum, okay? It cannot continue, but it cannot go. So it's just like it's stuck. And Israel, what can I say? I mean, doesn't matter now what they do. They are absolutely defenseless, and that will continue. And I think there are many people. I speak about it in my today's video, which is going to be up fairly soon after we're done here. Tehran calculated strategically very well all that. It's a really nicely designed strategy, not without its flaws. Obviously, you can never, as Mike Tyson stated, your plan is good until you get the first time, to the teeth, so, and then suddenly things go very wrong. But no, Iran basically nailed it in generally strategic terms. And operationally, we now know what is going on. So United States, the so-called ceasefire will not last, I think. And once it's resumed, it doesn't matter. We saw yourself today, even when Iran stated that, we will reopen Hormuz Strait for 15 vessels per day, didn't do much for oil because the damage already, catastrophic damage to the what used to be called global economy has been done already, and you begin to see those manifestations of panic, disarray in the combined West. And Trump, that's his accomplishment. Well, that's what gets you when you're being a puppet of the Israel, and it's basically a fascist government which dreams about, greater Israel. They failed, and they cannot take it now.
Andrei, looking at the operation, this so-called pilot rescuing operation, what was that? Look at the level on, if I'm not mistaken, they had 12 or 14, aircraft. We had C-130, we had Black Hawks, we had Little Birds, 4 Little Birds, and look at
there were two C-130Js, which are specifically designed for insertion of the special forces. No, I mean, I don't know how else you can call it a success when we don't know. They were under fire. The only photo I needed to see, not even the burned down C-130s and all that, it's the boom of one of the Little Bird AH-6 helicopter, which was removed from, not removed, it was laying some distance from the place where those C-130s have been burned for whatever the reason, but they have been probably struck by something. But you could see this boom, and it's completely in holes from the small arms fire and large caliber machine gun, most likely. And that tells you everything that you need to know, essentially, because they did pull out those Little Birds. They tried probably to use them. Whatever happened after that, they were either shut down or once they landed, they were immediately under the very serious fire. Did they have losses there? Did they have KIAs in the special forces? Likely. They probably took, obviously, the bodies of their comrades, with them, whatever was, extracting them after that. But yeah, it is a catastrophe. It's complete cluster coitus, and when you look at this, it's like, oh yeah, God. If you tell me that this is a successful operation, then I'm Chinese choreographer, okay? So, and then again, we don't know about this lady who is allegedly CIA, or Iran is holding her, I think. What we know so far, we'll have to wait and see if there will be some kind of trade or what have you. That these things are usually done behind closed doors. But yeah, I wouldn't call it success, honestly. And I mean, I just feel for the guys, from the Green Berets and Rangers who have been inserted there, just because they have been basically sent to die. Now we can sit and speculate here if it was in the end attempt at the extraction of uranium. But anybody who plans, if would consider that, this is extraction of uranium, are you freaking kidding me? They still think that what they are facing is some kind of Iraqi bought out forces and things like that. You had Basij immediately jump, into the fight. You can see that there is a videos of them. They have their kids running with them, and they are with the rifles. So it tells you everything you need to know about Iranians, And so I don't know who planned that. It was probably under some political pressure. And they had to sacrifice their guys, the elite commandos, essentially, with the balls of steel, and they still send them to this. I don't know. It just absolutely defies imagination.
Yeah. I think when the reality comes out, that would be mind-boggling.
Well, I mean, Russians, given their professional due to those guys, American guys, special forces, who had to essentially sacrifice themselves. Again, they probably tried to repeat Gostomel assault, which Russian Pskov division, paratrooper division, and special forces did, which was very successful. They, held the airfield for a long time, and then, of course, political decision came. They withdrew, but they thought that, oh yeah, we can do Gostomel. The helicopters and aircraft. No. This is different circumstances, different, essentially conditions on the ground and elsewhere. And so when you look at that, it's just like, if somebody wanted and thought that they could do whatever extraction of 450 kilogram or from Isfahan nuclear facility, which was also itself, many kilometers away. It was in the vicinity, the area, but really, so yeah, Iranians are having this facility there in Isfahan, and they have this door which is written there, here are 450 kilograms of the uranium, and we don't have any special forces or guards, guarding it, and they are just simple guys. This defies imagination, essentially, and any common military sense.
Andrei, part of what has happened on the battlefield is the case of ammunition interceptors, not only the interceptors, but also the cruise missiles that the United States is using against Iran. What of the pictures that we've seen just 2 days ago, one of these interceptors that Israel is using, David Sling interceptor, was produced. The picture shows that it was produced in 2026, this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the production of this year.
Yeah.
What does that say to us?
That's it. They run out of everything. As simple as that. You can take a look at essentially Iranian missiles flying at will. Apart from the fact that obviously, they are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Both United States, Israel itself is just this. Once you remove this BS with this propaganda by Israeli media in the United States, because most of them are essentially Israeli controlled or APAC controlled, it's a third-rate military power. Okay, the only thing they have is air defense. Okay, Their infantry is a joke. You saw yourself what Hezbollah did to them in southern Lebanon. Now the Netanyahu comes out and say, "Oh yeah, you know what? We're ready to negotiate, but Hezbollah has to disarm." Really? I mean, yeah, no go. So they can continue to do what until they do whatever they do until they completely run out of it. Israeli economy is pathetic. Do you know how much steel they produce them on their own? 300,000 tons a year. Do you know what it is? Just to give you an example, Russia produces 236 times more steel, okay? 236 more times, 71 point plus, probably around 75 now, million tons of steel. This is the third world country, essentially, And so the only thing they have nuclear weapons, which have been stolen from the United States, essentially, and then what do you have? They have the IDF. Late Colonel Lang, he stated, who was through the Defense Intelligence Agency and the veteran of the Gulf War, and he communicated with IDF constantly. He wasn't very impressed with. He said it's a gendarme force with the heavy equipment. And you saw yourself how basically Merkavas are burning in southern Lebanon and they're stuck. And the only thing they can do, and that's what they always do, the same as the United States, they essentially fed off each other. They were high on own supply, you know what, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and basically extolling each other as such great powers. While in reality, the only thing they can do is to basically bomb, to use standoff weapons. Without the United States, Israel is nothing, really. It's the third world country with the nukes. That's pretty much it. And militarily, industrially, and what have you. And so, as a result, the bluff has been called, and again, we see a complete implosion of all that. So, will they continue? Well, the United States has to. It cannot do anything about it. It's literally stuck. Because we have to understand what is going on. 20%, 1/5 of the world energy supply is controlled by Iran today, period. Read my lips. It is controlled by them, and there is nothing. Even nuclear weapons will do nothing to unlock it. And there is another thing which many people forget. And Houthis already said, we are, with Iran, we're going to fight it. There is Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The Red Sea, and look up how much of the trade also is going through this. And then, of course, we have yesterday, Iran struck one of the pump stations of this pipeline east-west of Saudi Arabia, which goes to the Red Sea. So you can see yourself this scenario unfolding, which is a nightmare for Israel, obviously. Israel is done, actually, in general. And for a Trump administration and for the United States and for Europe, it's over. I mean, what are you going to do? Poland sent three corvettes there. Well, yeah, they will make the great change. And here is the issue which nobody pays attention to, and it has to be brought up. I will have to make a special presentation on that. Where is the U.S. Navy? Oh, I can tell you where it is. Nowhere near to be found, with the exception of obviously some kind of the SEALs or what have you. And obviously the nuclear power submarines, which are by the virtue of being submarines, are not detectable by the Iranian forces, and then can still launch whatever is left in terms of that bombs, Tomahawk missiles in the American arsenal. That's it. You cannot move any asset into the range of the Iranian anti-shipping missiles, period. That's what happened to the USS Tripoli, which is now in the southern Indian Ocean, because you cannot move, essentially, this marine expeditionary unit, which probability is extremely high that it will be struck. And then what you're going to do when you have essentially you have 2,500 Marines there and the crew on this LHD? It's horrible. It could be absolutely disastrous. And we still do not know how they fought laundry room 30-hour-long fire on Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. So there you go. And what we have now is, you saw yourself, everybody sees it. Those vessels are stuck, and nothing you can do about it.
Andre, part of the operation that the United States was doing in the Middle East was, when it came to the to the Strait of Hormuz, Donald Trump was trying to convince Europeans to drag them to the Middle East. Today, we've learned again, Donald Trump is trying to force them, as he has this 2 weeks of ceasefire. He's talking about that, but on the other hand, he's trying to put pressure on the NATO Secretary General Rutte and then to NATO countries to come to do something about this Strait of Hormuz. What is Europe? What can Europe introduce to the theater in the middle in the Strait of Hormuz that the United States is not able to do? And because we have to understand, what does Donald Trump want from them?
Listen, if you read attentively about his posts, even yesterday, about Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is a middle school, spoiled girl, wussy, essentially, which hysterical, lashing out and behaving himself. He is mentally unstable, and we have to admit this now. So he can try whatever he wants. The problem is, as always, the United States wants somebody to get hit by the anti-shipping missiles because they cannot afford. And again, it's pathetic. Okay, let France send its whatever, the Jalopy, it's called the Charles de Gaulle nuclear-powered aircraft carrier with a couple of those destroyers or frigates. See what's going to happen. So that's the only thing. The rest of it, they can move only their very limited number of the surface assets. Most of them are utilized and designed in such a way that to carry, most of them, they carry MK-41 vertical launch systems, which are loaded with the same Tomahawks. They have some anti-shipping missiles, most of them subsonic. Well, all of them are subsonic. And so let France do it. And see what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure Iranian forces, they are just salivating and having their some kind of the destroyer or what have you appear in their sides, so to speak. So yeah, and for Trump, he's trying to basically hide behind the backs of NATO so-called allies, in reality vassals. But those vassals now. They don't want to die either, So each of them is essentially a bunch of the criminals, and we'll talk about it. I will talk about it at some point of time also. But I mention it all the time that when you look at the elites, the military political elites, bunch of the incompetent hacks, the only thing they know is how to stay elected and how to stay appointed in their posts. I read today the statement by this chief of our French army, Mandon. He's a child. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. So they don't have resources. They don't understand how it all works. The only thing they understand is that once they get into the range, they will be sunk. They will be hit, and the consequences will be catastrophic. Especially for people sensitive and like French or British don't have anything altogether. They prefer to have whatever the aircraft carrier they have now, hanging out in the relative safety of the Southeast Asia.
Andre, the way that Donald Trump was talking about the war, and he said that he's gonna put an end to a civilization, and calling Iran, and he's gonna end it. When someone likes Donald Trump, he puts something like this. He posts something like this. What is happening in his mind? Does he really think that even the use of nuclear weapon can destroy a civilization? He's so childish.
You have to understand. First, we have to understand the ceasefire for which United States was begging. United States begged Iran since March 16. This is for those people who have the attention span of the guppy fish from aquarium. United States wasn't just, oh yeah, let's do ceasefire. No. They were begging this from 16th of March, and this is how the actually title of my video today, which will pop up after that, it's called peremptory. Iran issued 10 points for the negotiations for a simple reason: for them to be rejected. They are pretty good strategies there. It's very similar to the Russia statement on December 2021, which was peremptory too. Take it or leave it. Not, we'll go in, we continue. Iran is ready. And that's the whole thing. Iran can take it. They can continue to do. They know their own arsenals. They know the number of the weapons they have. They know now they kind of refine their tactics and operations. And this, United States doesn't have time. It doesn't have arsenals to continue like this. So what's left? So I don't know. I mean, do they want the boots on the ground? Yeah, they can put the boots on the ground and see what's going to happen. It's going to be a slaughter. And here we are. And Trump, being desperate and absolutely uncontrollable. He cannot control his outbursts. He's a narcissist. He's self-centered, egotistical maniac. Now we have the onset of dementia. So you put this together, you have a deadly mix of the person who is not normal. He cannot concentrate on anything. He doesn't understand what he wants. And he is controlled by Israel, because we have to understand all these explosions, tactics, operations, they kind of, for now, a little bit obscure the main fact. He is 5,500 times mentioned in the Epstein files. We cannot accuse him before it's, because the presumption of the innocence, but everybody understands what is this all about. Everybody who is not complete moron, who worships this, golem of the, essentially puppet of the Israeli government and Mossad, and he's totally embroiled into essentially being controlled by his sycophants who are Christian Zionists. They are not Christians. These are people who have loyalty to Israel. And so when you look at this, he probably at some point of time will go bananas. I mean, he will explode because he is a ticking time bomb. And what he will do? The only thing is, which is probably the saving grace here, he's also a coward. We know now it's established fact. And so when he threatens to destroy civilization, which is more than 20 times older than the United States as a country, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is his pathetic, wussy, middle-aged, spoiled brat lashing out. And as Michael Brenner today, wonderful Michael Brenner, one of the few truly deep thinkers in the U.S. Academy, he wrote today that United States debased itself morally, completely. It's completely debased. It has no morality left. It has no moral authority on anything. It participated in the atrocity and genocide in Gaza. It participated in the war crimes in Ukraine. And it's now debased itself to the point that you have the president of the United States behaving itself like it's incredible. The rest of the world took the note. It's national embarrassment, national humiliation, and he can say whatever he wants. And for him, this ceasefire is somehow to get himself out of this verbal diarrhea corner he created for himself when he was stating that, we will bomb the, Iran back to the Stone Age, that it is will kill civilization. And guess what? You forget another thing. He called the Iranians animals. This is the office of the United States president, POTUS, president of the United, have been humiliated and debased. It's a freaking zoo, and it's painful for me to say this because I lived in the United States for more than 30 years, and seeing what country has become is unbelievable.